Welcome to Inside the GMAT. I'm your host, Zach. Today, we'll be taking you inside the real-life journey of someone who's just been where you might be headed. GMAT exam test day. My guest, Anna Diaz, is a recent GMAT test taker whose prep journey was full of determination, learning curves, and self-discovery. She's here today to share how she approached her studies, the strategies that worked best for her, and the lessons she learned about herself along the way. I think her story proves that every step of the process can teach you something valuable. So, Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
What originally inspired you to pursue a business master's degree?
So, a little bit about myself is that I was born and raised in Portugal, and that's where I did my bachelor's degree in economics. And about literally 1 month after I finished my bachelor's degree, I have moved to Germany, where I am right now, to start working here. And it's been 3 years since I'm still in Germany, and this work contract was only 3 years. At some point, I just started to think about what would be the next step for me. And I have wanted to do a master's degree for a while. So I basically just started to look into it as a next step kind of thing.
Sure, just the logical progression of your career. I was someone who was sort of floundering and not sure what I wanted to do. So I'm very comforted and a little jealous that you're somebody who had a trajectory in mind. So you decided you wanted to pursue a degree. How did you decide that the GMAT would be part of that?
I really like Munich. That's where I live right now. So I started to look at what would be my options in Munich or around Munich. There's a lot of really good universities around here, so it wasn't really hard to find things. And for my, let's call it my plan A, I was reading the entrance requirements and I realized that I would need a fairly competitive GMAT score. So nothing insane, but to even have a chance to apply, I would need something that would help me stand out a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good reminder that sometimes you only need a competitive score on the GMAT, not the best score humanly possible. How did you get started with studying?
The first time I started studying for the GMAT was around March, April last year. I was still hoping to kind of make last year's intake at that point, but I realized that I needed the GMAT a bit too late. So I just thought, I'm a smart girl, I will figure it out. And I decided to take the GMAT with 2 weeks of studying. So first thing I did before even starting to prep was going to MBA.com and booking my GMAT. And then I started to look into how can I prep for this. And I just started basically doing a bunch of problems, not really structured, not really taking care of what I was doing, not really seeing my mistakes or anything. So basically just doing a bunch of problems, which now I know it's not the best approach. At least for me, it was really not the best approach. And so I gave it a try with 2 weeks of studying, and I had a 555, which, if you imagine a bell curve, puts you basically right in the middle of it. Which is now I'm looking back, I know it wasn't a bad score, but for my goal, I needed a bit more than that. So I was a bit disappointed, but I just thought, yeah, maybe it's just because I just did this for 2 weeks. I rescheduled again the GMAT for a month after that. And during that month, I did basically the same thing I was doing before, just doing a bunch of problems. I was doing another mistake, that is, I was only doing basically medium and hard questions, no easy questions, which turned out to be a mistake because in the test itself, I couldn't even get to the medium and hard questions because I was getting the easy questions wrong. So after that month of very unorganized studying again, I scored a 565, which is not a huge improvement. The extra 10 points might have just been a bit of luck, I don't know. But for sure, it was not something that I learned in that month, let's say. So at that point, I decided to basically pause from the GMAT. I wasn't going to make last year's intake anyways. So I just said, I will reassess next year. I will see what my goals actually are and I will reassess. So fast forward to around January this year, I started to think about it again because I was basically running out of time to check these things because I really want to start a master's in this winter semester. And so in January, when I when I reassessed, I was like, yeah, I still really want this school. I still really want this master. I think I can give it a proper shot, more structured preparation, and a bit more time as well. And let's see what happens. So I started to, first of all, look a bit into what is out there to help with preparation. I do believe it's possible to do it without help, but I think it's hard and it's time consuming. And for someone like me, I was working full time. It's a bit time consuming to make my own study plan, for example, or to find my own materials. I wanted something that was done for me, something that was a base to start from.
First of all, kudos to you for being able to realize something that you were doing was not working. And I also want to echo that I'm the kind of person who also would register for their test before they begin studying, because I don't know if you relate to this, Anna, but having that deadline is very motivating for someone like me. And
Yeah.
knowing that, and knowing that I have that test date.
Definitely, like I usually cannot fully start something unless I have a deadline for it, unless I know it's actually happening. So for me, it was not even a question that I was going to schedule that before I even did anything.
It sounds like you overcame a setback, which was not giving yourself enough time. That deadline was too soon, which in some ways translates to like not giving yourself enough grace.
I underestimated the exam a little bit the first time around because from an outside perspective, if you look at it, it's logic, it's basic concepts that you think you should already know. So you think that you don't really have to prepare that much for it. But after trying it the first few times, I understood why you should give yourself time for it. Also, to not only for the concepts, but also to get used to the structure of the questions, to get used to the time that you need to do certain question. I think if I had 10 minutes per question, for sure, me and a lot of people would get a perfect score, but that's not the point. So to get used to to the test itself, I think you really need to give yourself some time.
Is there anything else about the GMAT testing experience that surprised you?
So I've always been a math girl. I was always good at math. I always had very good grades. I did economics as my bachelor's degree, so I did math at a fairly high level. And it came to my surprise that actually quant was not my strength in the GMAT. It was actually one of my biggest challenges. And I didn't get why the first time around, but it also goes back to the fact that I was doing only medium and hard questions. I couldn't do easy questions anymore. I did maths at such a high level. I can invert a matrix, but I cannot tell you which fraction is bigger when you give me 2 or 3 fractions. So it's that thing of going back to the basics that was a bit challenging for me, especially in quant. Another thing that surprised me is that I was actually naturally good in verbal reasoning. I thought I would struggle a bit with it because I struggle a little bit with reading. I like to read a lot, but I like to read stuff that interests me. So it was actually a surprise to me that I was good at it.
So you took the GMAT a third time. Are you willing to share what you scored?
Yeah, so the third time that I did it, it's not my last time because my last time was the fourth time, but the third time that I did it was in April this year. So after about 2.5 months, 3 months of actual structured preparation, and I scored a 595. It could have been enough for some of my plan Bs, but not enough for my plan A still. And I knew that I had a bit more in me also because my test experience that time around, I knew that I got a very low quant score because I panicked completely in the quant section. I knew that I prepared for more and that I could do more. So I scheduled again the GMAT for a month after that. That month was a bit tough. I'm not gonna lie because I was a bit demotivated, but I did a more light preparation that final month because I also realized that my core work had been done the months before that. So during that month, I just went to my weakest areas in quant because that was really what I was lacking. But I did something I wasn't doing before I also did some problem sets in verbal and in data insights, which I was already quite good at. So I didn't bother the first time around. And actually that ended up making a lot of difference in my score because 1 month after I scored a 685 with a perfect score in verbal, which I couldn't have done for sure without studying a little bit of verbal and also competitive score in data insights. And I got that Q80 in quant with only polishing the weakest areas. And I was very happy about that.
Congratulations. I mean, that is an incredible score, and it really speaks to your perseverance and your dedication. Obviously, I don't want anybody to have to take the GMAT 4 times to get the score that they want, but I am quite in awe of you for having gone through that. I mean, it would be so easy to give up after each individual test. Why do you think you didn't just give up after the second attempt or even the third attempt?
After my second attempt, that was last year, I think I had the strength in me to go one more time because I let a bit of time pass. So I wasn't with it in my mind all the time, and I had time to reevaluate my choices and realize that I still really wanted it. So that's why I went for it for a third time. Initially, I said, this is my last time, but also I was quite strategic because I still placed it in a date that I could take it a fourth time if I really needed it. But what really motivated me to not give up is, first of all, I scheduled the fourth try in the day that I took the third try. So I had to force myself to actually do it. I was still with the adrenaline of the test, and I did it right away because I knew that if I let myself time to think, maybe I will not go for it anymore. Also, I had a look at my goals. So my goal is I really want this school in Munich. This is my only chance that I can actually even apply for it. So this is my last try. Let's see. Of course, there's other schools if this doesn't work out, but I think I owe myself one last time to really put in the effort for it. And also, I have to say, I had a really good support system that didn't actually let me give up. So I had my family on the phone telling me, yeah, okay, there's just one last try. Let's see. You can just keep going. Just do it. You've been fine. I had, for example, my flatmates that came in the kitchen in the evening and told me, no, you don't help with the dinner. You keep studying. We do the dinner, and this is like a teamwork kind of thing. I had my boyfriend that didn't let me give up, but at the same time also told me, it's one last try. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but at least you did everything. So I think it's the support system really helped in all of this.
I can see the montage now if this were a movie. Your parents, your boyfriend, your flatmates all coming together to make it happen on your fourth and final try. A question for you. If you think that you had approached the GMAT last year with a more structured prep schedule or program, do you think you would have maybe been able to earn that top score with fewer attempts?
Yes, I think I would have. Maybe not on the first try though. I am always a kind of person that gets everything last minute. And I need a little bit of pressure to actually put in the last effort. I think, however, if I started earlier last year, if I look at it earlier, if I realized that it wouldn't have taken, that me just doing a bunch of problems didn't really help me in any way, yeah, but not on my first try because I don't think I would have realized that on the first try. I think I would have always started my prep the same way. That is a very unorganized way, just because I didn't really know the test and I didn't really know what I was doing.
Going back to something we talked about at the beginning of this conversation is this idea of having a goal in mind. As motivating as having those scheduled tests was, I'm getting a sense that that ultimate career goal, that school goal, was really the North Star, that was ultimately the thing that motivated you the most. Is that true?
Yeah, I think yes. Also a combination of things, not only the school, but obviously I really want this school, but also the idea that I can keep my life here, that I can keep living here, that I will have the same group of friends, that I really want to stay here. So it's the whole experience that comes with getting into this school.
That's great to hear. It makes the pursuit of a degree like this more holistic, more grounded, in my opinion, because it's not just for a job. It's not just for a paycheck. It's not just for the prestige of having any sort of title. You love your life, and this is one of the best ways to maintain it. And that's pretty cool.
For me, that I don't have some kind of a path I want to go to, but I don't really have it clear in my mind. Just the school or just the prospect of a job probably wouldn't be enough for me to go for the extra step. But I think this part of the experience is what really drives me to put in the effort.
I love to hear that. And I have no doubt that your support system will continue to support you as you move forward and await any decision that comes from your school that you applied to. So before we go, do you have any final thoughts or encouragement for test takers listening right now?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to not give up and to believe that it's possible. I'm not a genius, and I don't think it takes a genius to get good at the GMAT. I think it takes that everyone finds what works for them and that everyone just does it consistently. So what worked for me was a structured study plan to have everything in one platform to study from. It worked that I didn't do that much hours of studying per day because I was also working full time. So I did 1 to 2 hours before work, 1 to 2 hours after. So always finding what works for you and be consistent with it. Not give up and believe always that it's possible.
That's all for this episode of Inside the GMAT. A big thank you to Anna for giving us a candid look at her GMAT journey, the challenges she overcame, and her exciting plans for the future. If you're currently studying for the GMAT, I hope Anna's story reminds you that test prep isn't just about a score. It's about resilience, strategy, growth, and hey, maybe something a little bit more. You can find more tips, tools, and stories like Anna's at mba.com and on this podcast. So please rate, review, and subscribe and share. Thanks for listening. I'm GMAC Zach, and we'll see you next time.